in Turkey. I'm Berat, and I was main trainer of Migrapreneurs. I'm a migrant myself in Turkey. So today I'm going to explain a little bit of my experience in terms of how it was to start a business here, how to import to Turkey, and how to do business in Turkey. If you have any questions, feel free to say during my presentation so that it can be more interactive, and we will be able to better have outcome of our presentation today. So then, everyone feeling all right to start?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So when we talk about Turkey, so we think of many opportunities. Turkey is one of the biggest countries of emerging markets. So based on United States, it's also underdeveloped countries. For the World Bank, it's from the emerging markets. But to sum up, actually, it's like one of the biggest economy of the world, and there are so many opportunities in Turkey to trade, to do business, and to do international entrepreneurship. In Turkey, we have so many examples of entrepreneurs. We also have so many examples of also Turkish business people doing trade with European, with American, and with Asian African countries. So, like Turkey, given as a country, has very strong relations with other countries to trade and to do business. But also it has a different side for the entrepreneurship. So like I was actually in Young Transatlantic Innovation Leaders Initiative, and there were all entrepreneurs from all European countries, from United Kingdom to Turkey to Ukraine to Macedonia. And we were there discussing our entrepreneurship ecosystem. And there was a placement of, they asked, how do you think, how developed is your entrepreneurship ecosystem? And we were like 3 people from Turkey, and there was 4 places, starting from lowest to highest entrepreneurship ecosystem. So we were in between 2nd and 3rd. So, like as an entrepreneurs, we don't think that it's very bad. We don't think that it's perfect like in the United States, but given the fact that it was very close to other European countries. So we had also some participants from Bulgaria, and they were saying that they don't have even mentorship in Bulgaria. And the person coming from Bulgaria, she started her own entrepreneurship startup to provide mentorship to other startups just because of that problem. In Turkey, we don't face those problems. So our way, our path is a little bit easier because you can easily find mentors here, and you can easily start your company here. So with macro consultancy, there is also, you can find it from the link, a guide for highly skilled migrants, which is a PDF. So you can check it, and also you can read a little bit more about how to do a business in Turkey and to get to know more about entrepreneurship ecosystem. So this link can help you to understand more a guide for highly skilled migrants. So, who I am, it was like an introduction to what we're going to talk today, but let me introduce first myself. Maybe some of you know me, but some of you maybe will be the first time hearing who I am. Actually, I was born in Macedonia, which is in Southern Europe. And when I was about to get my education, I decided to move to Turkey because Turkey had very strong institutions like Middle East Technical University. And I moved to Turkey to study here. So when I studied here, I realized that looking to a country from a foreigner perspective give you more advantage to understand the problems in the country. And here I began. So when I was 19 years old, I started my first non-profit organization in my university for International Student Association. We did programs for international students. There were like 3,000 international students in our club, in our university. We were coming up together. We were discussing what we can do. We were discussing the entrepreneurship ecosystem, culture shock, and it gave me a perspective, to understand not only my problem as a foreigner, but also other people problems. So when we come to Turkey, they said to me, you have to get a residence permit to stay in Turkey. So I went to get my residence permit at 9 a.m., but there were like 1,000 people before me. So I couldn't be in line on that day. The second day, I wanted to become a little bit smarter, and I went there from 6 a.m. and waited until 9 a.m., but still on that day, I couldn't be on the line. And in the third day, I went there from 3 a.m. wait until 9 a.m. And on that day, I was lucky enough to get my residence permit. But this was a big problem because Turkey wasn't ready for the migration flows. And Ankara Security Department back then, so they wasn't expecting like 1,000 people to apply every day for a residence permit. So it was very new, such a huge migration flow to Turkey. So given the fact that this problem was so big, and I had connections with Middle East Technical University Student Council and Middle East Technical University International Student Association, we managed to meet with Security Department, and we proposed a project to have a website for online appointment system for residence permit. And it was like 2012, so not many countries were using online appointment system back then. And we successfully convinced migration department of the Ankara Security Department to start our website. And today, 8.5 million people use our website to understand how to apply to residence permit and to have an online appointment for residence permit. So this was my introduction to becoming a migrant entrepreneur in Turkey. Then I went to United States. I studied social entrepreneurship, leadership, and after having the sense of what's happening in Southern Europe, and in Turkey, now I get the, the ecosystem in United States, as we say, American way of doing things. So there I realized that, how the startups operate in America. So how the social startups operate in America. And that gave me an advantage to understand from the west to east many countries and their entrepreneurship ecosystem. So then I come back to Turkey, and after coming back to Turkey, I started my last initiative, which is Migport, migration port, and it connects refugees with locals to overcome their daily problems. So we understand the problems of refugees first, and then provide solutions based on what problems they are facing. So this is my last organization. As you can see, I had a very challenging and also interesting life of being an entrepreneur, living in many countries, and also living entrepreneurship ecosystems in the other countries. In Turkey, so I started my initiatives. I studied in States also, but it wasn't only that. In United Kingdom, I went to Collective Global Accelerator Program, which is a social entrepreneurship accelerator program for social entrepreneurs, and I spent like 2 months in United Kingdom. So then I become the Young Transatlantic Innovation Leader of Turkey, that I was representing Turkey in States for the innovation and transatlantic cooperation. So given this fact and attending so many incubator and accelerator programs, as an immigrant and as an entrepreneur and opportunities, I started doing my projects in Turkey. Here today, it was a little bit long description about me, but I wanted to let you know about that, in today's, this is kinda what really made me here today talking about entrepreneurship ecosystem and doing business in Turkey with you. So far, I want to ask questions to you, the participants. Do you wanna ask something, or what do you care most? So if there is any volunteer, feel free to unmute your microphone and just feel free to ask me a question so that I can answer them better and do my presentation according to that.
Yes, well, my name is Carmen. I'm very concerned about all the procedure, these administrative procedures that a new entrepreneur have to follow to open a business in Turkey. Whether it's very very difficult? Whether do you have to pay a kind of, tax, extra tax to be an entrepreneur? All this procedure I'm interested in.
Thank you a lot for your question. So, as far as I understand, you care more about the structure, how to start a business in Turkey as an immigrant. Am I correct?
Yes. Well, you're yes, right, but also the kind of businesses that really are the most demanded in Turkey, or the best business to start in Turkey.
Like best, okay, I got your point directly. So the first one is about procedures, and then is
Yes.
what's the best to start in Turkey, which are really cool questions, and
Yes.
I will try to answer those two questions during my presentation. Anyone else?
Okay.
And if no one wants to ask more questions, then here I begin with my presentation. Based on your questions, you asked about, what are the procedures to start business in Turkey. The first one is joint stock company, which can be formed by at least one person. And the capital of the company is fixed, divided into shares, but shall not be less than 50k Turkish lira, which means that you have to have a capital of 50k Turkish lira. And if the company capital is fixed and divided into shares, it can be formed by one person. This is one of the company structures that you can start in Turkey. But the second one is the limited liability company, which most of the companies are limited liability companies in Turkey. So you can also take the screenshot if you like, but I will a little bit explain about what really this means. Actually, it can be formed by only one person or more. It's up to you. The capital of the company is fixed, and shareholder liability is limited to capital they paid and shall not be less than 10k Turkish lira, which you can understand. If you have 10k Turkish lira, and you can directly open a company in Turkey so that you can operate and do business. So there are some steps to do this, like a paperwork and just like the registrations. So I'm not going to read all what you have to do, but I'm going to give as an example what you can do next. You want to build a limited liability company, and like 10k Turkish lira is enough for that. So firstly, you have to submit memorandum and articles of incorporation online at MERSIS, which is Central Registry Record System. So you reach MERSIS online, and so you have to submit the files. Secondly is that there is trade registry office, and this also needs to be done. So you have to submit also and prepare the documents that are relevant by the trade registry office. Thirdly, you have to get a tax identity number from the tax office. This is very important to run in Turkey, because if you have a tax office, if you have an identity number, so you will be able to start your own entrepreneurship ecosystem and tractions in Turkey. So the others, as you can see, is like depositing 4% and at least 25% in capital, as a proof. So if you can deposit 25% of your startup capital in a bank and obtain a proof, so there will be any legal obstacle for you. Then you will have to apply to registration at the trade registry office. Then you have to certify the legal books by the notary public, and the last one is that follow up with the tax office on the trade registry office company's establishment notification. So by the time you decide to start a company, it's not impossible. So for the limited liability company, as long as you have 10k Turkish lira and you have to deposit some of those monies to bank and to have your proof that you have enough money to run your company. But this is the legal structure, and there are also some incubator centers that I'm going to talk about. So they don't ask you to open a startup in the first day. Firstly, they want you to be in the incubator center and pivot your company, pivot your solutions, try to find better problems, and that gives you some time to understand how you can operate in Turkey. So if you are really interested to start a business in Turkey, you can open a company as a limited liability company. And the second one is that you can just apply to one of the incubator programs, participate here, and then it will be very easy for you to open a company. You just need an accountant to account your transactions, which is very it's like 200 Turkish lira for an accountant. It's nothing. And you can start your company in Turkey. Any question that you want to ask about joint stock company and limited liability company? If anyone wants to ask a question?
No, it's perfect. Very interesting.
Very?
Yeah, I say very interesting.
Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot. And also, like Turkish government helps you if you invest in Turkey more than 250K US dollars or 1 million US dollars. You can check it exactly the numbers because it changes from time to time. They grant you citizenship to make your job even easier. So by the time you get investment from Europe, and maybe because of the tax cuts, maybe because given the fact that, also the Turkish currency is not as expensive as the other currencies, it will be much cheaper for you to operate in Turkey. So if you come with an investment to Turkey, also the government grants you citizenship. And I'm not exactly sure about, the total amount of investment, but you can check it online. So if you write in the Google, so it will give you more concrete numbers. But I know that, so if you start a business here and if you do investment, it doesn't matter whether it's your money, but it matters whether it's your company. So you can be granted also citizenship, which will make your job much easier. What we have else is we have NGOs in Turkey. Like if you have a social startup in United States, there is like for-profit, also non-profit organizations and NGOs. But in Turkey, we have only for-profit ones and NGOs. We don't have like a non-profit option. For being an NGO here, you can apply to the NGO sections, and you can either make a foundation or make an association. So we'll let you operate in Turkey. So if it's independent, so you can start that in Turkey. But if it's connected to one of the foreign organizations, so you also have to prove the transparency about the organization. But also, if you have a social business which is non-profit in States or Europe, the way for you to start in Turkey is being an NGO. And when you are an NGO, you can also make sales, but you cannot touch the profit by law. So it's called NGO in Turkey. It's not like a non-profit organization. If you don't have more questions about this, I will continue right now about the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Turkey. And here will be a question an answer to your question about what kind of businesses is good for Turkey and what are some examples that started from Turkey. I will start firstly from my incubator center. I'm based in Middle East Technical University, Technopolis. And if you want to take an online course from a website, so usually your option will be Udemy. Maybe some of you might know, but maybe some of you don't, like Udacity, Udemy. I'm not talking about Udacity, I'm talking about udemy.com, which is like a YouTube where you can pay and get online courses to improve your skills, soft skills and hard skills. Udemy.com started actually from Turkey. the co-founder is a Turkish person, and he was based in the same incubator center that I am today, which is in Middle East Technical University. And Eren Bali, when he started his company, so he actually was pivoting his application firstly in Turkey. So he met with so many entrepreneurs, he met with so many investors. He developed the concept from Turkey. Then he got investment from United States and went to United States and incorporated there and become an American company. So also Udemy still have some like HQ in Turkey, and they also operate some of their like technical operations in Turkey. So we have also even some unicorns that started from Turkey, but they are not all unicorns. You know, we say that unicorns doesn't exist, but in Turkey some of them doesn't exist right now in Turkey, but they started from Turkey. So this means that, you know, if you want to do something big in, you know, around the globe, it's not bad to start in Turkey, but you have to decide where to go afterwards or to stay in Turkey. So if you have really crazy ideas, also Turkey can give you some space to meet very big investors, and it also can open you new gates to go to the other countries. So this is a little bit how I explain entrepreneurship ecosystem of Turkey. You have both connection to Europe, America, and Asian countries. There are so many startup competitions that you meet maybe the richest person in the world as much as maybe so many Asian investors. Like the Turkish hub is little bit like the Turkey location. So Turkey gives you two perspectives. First one is you can see the really Western companies here, but also you can be in touch with so many Asian countries here to trade and do business. That's why, like the entrepreneurship ecosystem, I cannot say that it's very developed, but I can say that if you want to do something really crazy, or if you want to do a business here, it can open you many gates, and if you it can open you so many doors that you can really accelerate your startup. If you have an idea here, actually this is what I experienced. Like I started my idea actually in United States. I was in university and with my team. So we started to talk about how really we can solve the problems of refugees. We discussed with each other. We had mentors from the Hanson Summer Institute, University of San Diego. My startup actually started in United States, literally. But then I come to Turkey and I started pivoting in Turkey, which makes my startup like a combination of both American and Turkish startup. So here, actually, when you have an idea, it's like an egg. You have to really incubate it in order to make it real. Because, you know, if you do some mistakes, most probably egg will not be ready for the meal, which is the same as your startup. If you do some mistakes, or if you don't try to understand your competitors or your entrepreneurship ecosystems or your business model, it can lead to your startup not to mature as an idea. So given this perspective in Turkey, what we have is that we have so many incubation centers. I said earlier, like I had a friend from Bulgaria, and she said that she had really hard times to find mentors. But in Turkey, you never have this problem. There's always mentors. And there are always some people to tell you not to do or to do. But there are so many mentors. It doesn't matter whether they say positive or negative, but there are so many people where you can go and talk. And also, as a startup, there are so many places where as egg should be placed in the incubation center before it becomes becomes an animal. You should also place your startup in an incubation center. And given the fact that Turkey has so many opportunities for the incubation centers, you can access them as an immigrant too. And I have some bad news because this is how the incubation centers look, not only in Turkey, but in many countries. So like sometimes it's even maybe more crowded than this. Sometimes it's very empty. It really depends on where you go. I'm sorry. So you can find really so many incubator centers here in Turkey if you are really interested. But now, if the babies, like we say that startups are our babies. Yeah, startups are our babies, but you know, when we look to the after the egg, what happens is that they have to be healthy in order to continue their life. And some of them may fail, some of them may succeed. It's very similar to our startup. So then we need an accelerator program. So we start firstly with an incubation. Firstly, we are an idea, then we go to the incubation center, and then it's time right now to accelerate, to understand whether we can have mass growth. And Turkey also provides us accelerator programs. If it's not in Turkey, you can easily access international accelerator programs from Turkey, which really happened to me. Actually, I find my first investment from the, let's say, States in the United Kingdom. I was accepted to incubator centers, not in Turkey, but in States and in United Kingdom and the other countries, but I was based in Turkey. So when you are in Turkey, it means that so you will operate from here, but you can also have options to accelerate your startups in the other countries, which I think that this is a healthy way to build your startup, to understand your business model. If you say that my idea is perfect and you know I have nothing missing, my business model is perfect, but it's an idea, you cannot prove that, they will survive. And in order to understand that, incubation center firstly makes your idea to become from an idea to, let's say, like an egg. And then by talking to your customers, by talking to your clients, to your mentors, to people that you are going to impact, now if you survive so long, now you have to survive the death valley, which is time for the accelerator programs. And that's the path that you can have in Turkey. Like start as an idea. If you haven't already an idea, you can find an incubation center here. And if you think that your market is in Turkey, and if you prove that, you know, you already have a very strong business model, so you can come to accelerate your idea and your business model here in Turkey. And many organizations I know that come to Turkey and pivot their products. So Turkey gives you also that perspective. And these are some programs for you that you can try to look at, that you can really go to incubator centers or accelerators. There are some international programs that you can access from Turkey, like Innogate, 3S Landing Pad, StartCamp, Growth Circuit, which have office in San Francisco, Ankara, Istanbul, Startup Globe, and Catapult. So there are some examples that you can apply from Turkey. And Growth Circuit is actually one of the projects of Middle East Technical University, Technopolis, and they are investing into early stage startups, even in an idea. They give you some funding and they also send you to United States in San Francisco to develop your business model, and then you come back to Turkey. So there are some programs that you can access, and you can also not take the notes. Because I'm based in Ankara, I will little bit talk about what you can really access in Ankara. It's like one of them is Teknojump, one of them is Yeni Fikirler, Yeni İşler, Atom, Kuluçka Merkezi, and Viveka. So there are some of the examples of that, and you can also come here and try to build your idea. There are so many options that you can come here and find incubator centers, even in Ankara, given the fact that Ankara is a very bureaucratic city. Here are two links for you. Which one of them is e-girişim, and here you can find in the first one the accelerator programs in Turkey. So if you click on there, there are also some links that will provide you understanding of what kind of incubator and accelerator programs you can have. And the second link also gives you an idea about like the 10 entrepreneurship accelerator programs in Turkey. So feel free to also click on these links. Maybe it might be in Turkish, but also you can, right now Google Translate is very accurate. So you can translate and at least click on the website, because they're not only Turkish, some of them are also international. And if you are based in Ankara, you can easily participate in the programs. So, and funding our businesses. So I think that funding is like a petrol. Imagine that you want to go from city A to city Z. I'm being an entrepreneur and I will try to think beyond the borders, maybe Z, I don't know, a new letter that we don't have. So because we entrepreneurs are always innovative, as we claim. So let's say that we want to go to Z and our aims are very big. But if we are in the letter A, city A, and it goes like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like to Z, and you have to go from A to Z, but first you have to pass from B, C, D, E, F, G, all of them. And firstly it comes, if you have an idea stage, if you are in the A, firstly you have to really understand whether your idea works in order to move to the city B, which can be an incubation or pre-incubation program for you. Or what I suggest is that you can really talk to your customers and pretend that you have a product to sell and see whether they're buying your product. So if they're buying your product, then you can move to the C, which can be an incubation to really complete your product. Then after the incubation, now you might be ready for the angel investment, or before angel investment, it will be family and friends round. So like it happened to me, my friends and family were funding my business and funding me as well, because I didn't have customer or clients back then. So this is really true. Or like in the beginning, your only option is friends and family. And if you really prove your idea, maybe then you can get the seed or angel investment. So I give you two links, and here you can access some of the investors in Turkey. And also you have to check each of them. They speak usually Turkish, but if you are a foreigner, you have to convince them to invest in you. So try to understand what kind of businesses they operate, or what do they operate in Turkey. So you can approach them, you can submit your idea, and if you are really serious about moving to Turkey and do your business, it can open you some angel investment. But I said, it's like a petrol. If you want to go from A to Z, you don't have to go with funding. How you can go is that in the real life, you can use plane, you can use train, you can use a bike, and you can walk. So if you don't have funding, most probably you will have to walk. If you have very limited funding, you can buy a bike. If you have a little bit more funding, maybe after the incubator or accelerator, you can use a train, which really will accelerate you. And by the time you are ready to fly, then it will be after the angel investment like seed A, seed B, and then you can really go to your final destination with a plane. So that's why I say this funding is like a petrol. It's not necessary, but it really accelerates your startups. But still, you can walk from city A to city Z, which can take more time. But luckily enough, maybe you can be even the biggest organization when you reach the Z. So it's all up to us. And here are some lists that you can access to investors in Turkey. Anything that you want to ask so far that maybe I didn't explain so clearly?
It's perfect. Really, it's a great job, very interesting. So so far, it's fine for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, and thank you so much for listening to our presentation today. I try to really show my experiences, what I experienced, and I try to give some examples. Like this petrol, I really believe that, because I heard it when I was an entrepreneur. They said to me that, you know, funding is like a petrol. You can take a plane or you can go by walking. But this was what I heard. And then after I became an entrepreneur, I realized that it's not only plane and walking. There are train, there are bike, there are other options that you can go. And it's really up to us to convince people to invest in our ideas. So that's why I wanted to little bit show the not only procedures, but also the entrepreneurship experience of mine in Turkey. Mm-hmm. There are, anyone wanted to talk? Okay, I just heard a voice, I'm sorry, from the computer. So, but now I will continue with some helpful links. The first one is AB, like ilan, and it shows the bidding and open projects and funding opportunities in Turkey. So usually it's more for the non-profit organizations for the early stage, or for the non-profits too, but also there are some very helpful links there that you can really access and find some clients from that website. So when there is an open bidding, so mostly it's available on the AB ilan in Turkey. So you can check it. AB means European Union. And it's usually explaining the projects that you can do with Europe or with the NGOs and as a for-profit too. If you want to understand more about and read about entrepreneurship ecosystem, e-girişim, which my interview will be published there soon, it's in Turkish, but you're an entrepreneur and you have to find a way to translate it in English. Because I have some bad news. In Turkey, people speak usually English, but people trade in Turkish. So it's very similar if you are in Spain. Maybe people might speak in English, but they trade in Spanish. So in Turkey, so if you want to do business here, you have to at least understand and try to close a deal in Turkish. And this can be your first option, to read really Turkish articles about the entrepreneurship ecosystem. E-girişim and Girişim Haber can give you some idea about the trends in Turkey. They usually write about Turkish new startups and developments of entrepreneurship ecosystem. I usually follow those links, and also I have some interviews published on those websites, so it can help you to understand a little bit the Turkish ecosystem more by exploring as an entrepreneur. If you don't speak Turkish, it will be a challenge, but for entrepreneurs, there are always challenges, and it's your job to find solutions. Maybe you will buy a plane ticket, or maybe you will walk. In this case, if you don't speak Turkish, you will walk, but this can be really helpful for you to understand. So we have also Webrazzi, we have a competition like startupistanbul.com, like startani.com, and you can also see so many programs from fcs.com. Like I participated previously in Startup Istanbul and startani.com. So they have like 60K applications, and they select like top 100 to come to Turkey. And only maybe 5 of them are from Turkey, and the like rest 95 of them are from all around the world, from Africa to America to France to Australia. So there are so many entrepreneurs that come to pitch their ideas in Turkey with Startup Istanbul. So if you want to understand that, that's in English, by the way. Webrazzi in English too. So you can click on Startup Istanbul and try to see what kind of businesses come to Turkey to pitch. And also you can see how many of them got investment. And you can also check the startups right now, where they are right now, whether they are still in Turkey or whether they moved to other countries. How you can see the startups participated in Startup Istanbul is through startani.com. If you click on the startani.com, so it will give you so many startups, including my startup, that pitch in Turkey in Startup Istanbul. And they're all global. They're not based all in Turkey, maybe very few of them, but this can give you an idea about what kind of startups come to pitch to Turkey and maybe find some very good network there. And f6s.com, it doesn't give only programs in Turkey, but all around the world. So usually I check the programs there. So you can also see what's happening in your country from the last link, and also in Turkey too. So if you just follow these links, it will give you a very good idea about what's happening in Turkey.
Right.
Anyone wants to say something? Then good to go. As my startup, so where I attended this is my own example. Actually, firstly, I participated in Ankara's development agency, Tech Ankara Project Market. And this Tech Ankara Project Market from the Ankara Development Agency selects top 100 best companies in Ankara and connects them with investors. So I participated there as top 100, and I was awarded Middle East Technical University Pre-Incubation Center Award, which like I participated like 2 years and I didn't pay anything. So it was one of the awards. And for that, you don't have to be corporated. So if you are a startup, you still can apply there. And you can be granted so many awards. So there are also cash awards. I get an office award. So right now it's even more developed. I participated there in 2017. Right now, I guess even there are so many other awards. I participated in Startup Istanbul in 2017, which I told earlier, where you go there and pitch your idea. So many international folks are coming there and pitch their idea. Tim Draper, which is one of the richest person in the world, was also there. Y Combinator was there. I met with them. So Amazon was there. So I was able to meet with so many people from Startup Istanbul. But this was like more the Turkish case, including TÜBİTAK, which is the Science Council of Turkey. But it wasn't only them. So I participated in MIT Enterprise Forum in Amman. I won the Entrepreneurs Organization Global Student Entrepreneur Awards in Canada. I was the social impact winner among 60 countries and also the Turkish winner. Then US Department of State's gave us Young Transatlantic Innovation Leader Initiative Fellowship. I participated in Collective Global Accelerator London. So I participated also in IFORS, International Federation of Operational Resource Societies, which is very global and international. I went to China last week. So as you can see from my example as an entrepreneur, I was lucky enough to hustle and find many opportunities, not only in Turkey, but in the other countries. Because I'm tackling a global problem, for me it makes sense to go to the other countries and pivot my application more. So this is some of the accelerator and incubator and some competitions that I attended and really helped me do better my job, do better my entrepreneurship journey, meet so many investors, network, and also survive. So I don't have still petrol, like I'm walking, sometimes I'm taking a bike, sometimes I take a train, but I still survive, and it's thanks to these programs. So like if you come to Turkey, it doesn't have to be only Turkalized, let's say. It should be also international too. Now we completed the entrepreneurship ecosystem, but I said that I will not talk only about entrepreneurship ecosystem, but importing to Turkey. Maybe some of you will be interested if they want to do a business in Turkey, how to start, what to do. Actually, in Turkey, importing is like Turkey is members of World Trade Organization since 1995. It's also Economic Cooperation Organization member of them, a United Nations Conference of Trade and Development, Organization of the Black Sea Economic Corporation, World Customs Organization, International Chamber of Commerce, and so many other membership. Also, they have with the European Union as well. So Turkey is also under not European Union, but like they have very strong relationship with the Customs Union and Europe. They started the Customs Union Agreement in 1996. And in addition to Customs Union with the EU, Turkey has signed free trade agreement with Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Chile, Egypt, Georgia, Iceland, Israel, Jordan, Kosovo, Lebanon, Macedonia, Malaysia, Mauritius, Montenegro, Moldova, Morocco, Norway, Palestine, Serbia, Singapore, South Korea, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Syria, and Tunisia. Some of them are to be ratified, but some of them they have very strong custom unions. But with the EU, also Turkey has very strong custom unions signed from 1996. And then you see the Turkish exports because coming from Europe. So they usually trade with the European countries as the majority of their importing and exporting. So Custom Union Agreement has encouraged the trade between Turkey and European Union because it stipulates free circulation of goods in Turkey. The products had also like ATR certificates and being delivered in Turkey have a preferential treatment. So in Turkey, actually, custom union refers to individual goods and not agriculture products, except processed agricultural ones, services, and public procurement. Actually, like Turkey has this, what it tells is that Turkey has agreement with the European Union because it stipulates free circulation of goods. Turkey imports actually recently had an attraction over 200 billion US dollars, and over 80 billion is imported from the European Union countries. Russia, China, United States, and Iran are also other major exporters to Turkey. So if you are from one of the countries from European Union, which you can see that 80 billion is imported from the European Union, like among 200 billion US dollars. But if you are also from the other countries like Russia, China, United States, and Iran, they also have been major exporters in Turkey. Actually, Turkey, like I don't want to go so more very, let's say, scientific about this importing, because when I was really trying to make a research about that, it was like even sometimes I had really problems to understand. I will try to make it as easy as possible. So I'm not going to talk about local legislation. If you are interested, there are release of the free circulation, transit, custom warehousing, inward processing, processing under the customs control, temporary admission, outward processing, and exportation. So these are the 8 custom regimes in Turkey if you want to import or export. How you can find this information is more important to me, and it's trade.gov.tr. If you want to understand and find more details about how to do import to Turkey, like www.trade.gov, which is gov.tr, can give you so many ideas. If you want to deal with import or export businesses in Turkey, you need to have a valid tax number. Remember that I told that if you open a company as a limited liability company, you will need to have tax number. So this is valid also if you want to import to Turkey, which means that you can have also, you will need to open a company or branch in the country. So if you want to import it from Turkey, because you need a valid tax number, this means that you have to open your company in Turkey, like maybe limited liability company or others. It depends on the structure of your business. But what I explained earlier is valid about the importing too, because based on the rules and regulations, if you want to import, you have to have a branch officially recognized in Turkey. The companies operating in Turkey can import goods under one of the customs regimes mentioned above, as I told, which is the release of the free circulation, transit, customs warehousing, inward processing, exportation. So these are actually like how you can import goods from Turkey. And I don't know so many details about each of them, but if you're really interested and you know your business better than I do, so because I'm based in Turkey, I don't import from Turkey, but for you, you will need to understand really what you have to be operating on. Depending on the products to enter the country, specific documentation must accompany them. So actually, because I think that imagine that if you wanna implant some plant in Turkey, so maybe it can be you cannot get the seeds from Turkey, or you cannot import seeds from other countries, so you have to check this, and that will give you more ideas about how to operate your business. I can a little bit talk mainly about what kind of the documents you need to present to custom unions when importing goods to Turkey, which are a customs entry document which is issued by the country from which the products are sent. Secondly, the import license, which needs to be obtained by the Turkish company importing the products. The insurance certificate, which must accompany the product, which is issued by the government. Various certificates, among which the certificate of origin, the analysis of the certificate, and the certificate of the free sale also should be submitted. And last but not least, the purchase order of the letter of credit or the consular invoice, where required, should be submitted in order to import products. Imported products must also be accompanied by a commercial invoice and a packaging list. So when it comes to the special products such as fish, fresh fruit or vegetables, meat, and the other products, these products that I mentioned, like fish, fresh fruit, vegetables, must be accompanied by the health certificates, ingredient certificates, phytosanitary certificates, and other documents. So if you wanna, for instance, let's say that you try to import fish to Turkey, because the governments have agreements with each other, so you will need to prove your health certificates, ingredient certificates, and applies to customs offices in order to conduct your business here in Turkey. So if I didn't too much complicate your mind, because this is like the import is really strong and I didn't want to say something wrong. So I wanted to make it very easy, but at the same time, I didn't want to say something which is not correct. So as you can see, to sum up, if you want to import to Turkey, first visit trade.gov.tr. Afterwards, try to understand what are the procedures about your product to Turkey. If it's fish, meat, it will be very hard because you need to prove your health and ingredients with the certificates, and the certificates also should be the ones that Turkey recognizes. Given the fact that also Turkey has very strong relationship with the EU and the other countries that I mentioned, it wouldn't be that hard, but it should be also very professional. If you have a startup, maybe not importing by starting from Turkey would be a better idea. Before finishing our presentation, this is what I want to mention. If you want to come to Turkey and really operate, have a strategy firstly. One of the best strategies that I really like is like just Google it. Imagine that, Google like 10 or 15 years ago, if their strategy wasn't to become the best search engine in the world, today none of us would use Google. So if you want to really, convince people in Turkey to invest in your idea, this is very valid because many Turkish investors and Turkish entrepreneurs all are in touch with the, very international standards, have a very big strategy and prove your strategy. So that's why, try to make a startup that can be just Google it. If I say Google it and you understand Google it, then if your strategy is this big, so you can find some really good network in Turkey. Secondly, execution is really important. So try to have only one goal. Don't have so many goals at the same time. In Turkey, we go with the KISS. By KISS, I mean keep it small and simple. So try to make it very easy. If you want to start a company in Turkey, don't make it too complicated. Make it very easy to understand with very basic goals so that people can understand your product easier. Have only one goal and execute it with your strategy. And this is not only for Turkey startups, but this is for the international startups. Don't go to investors, but go to your clients, because cash, your clients or your profits or your income doesn't kill your organization. But if you don't have cash to run your organization, that kills your startup. So before I close my presentation today, what I suggest is that if you really, it doesn't matter where it's in Turkey or other countries, but if you really want to build something cool, don't go to your investors directly, go to your clients and be driven by cash. So this is how I end up my presentation. So we have a couple minutes left, and if you have any questions, I will be more than glad to answer them. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
Thank you very much. It was really interesting and a great job. And well, thank you.
Thank you a lot for your good wishes. I really like them.
Yes, thank you for your information. It's very interesting.
Thank you, Berat. This is comprehensive.
It was really a pleasure. Thank you, Doğan Bey. I really appreciate being here today. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much,
everyone.
So,
presentation, it covers everything.
Güle güle in Turkish.
Thank you.
So if nobody else has any more questions, I will pause the recording now. That's okay?
Okay.
Okay.